the vast majority of the time, the answer is, oh, I haven't made any wildlife films yet. I'm waiting for someone to give me an opportunity. Don't wait. This idea of your lucky break, you need to go and make some of that luck. So yeah, get out there and make films. Because if someone comes over to me and goes, hi, I'd really like to work with you. I made a film about the pigeons that nest on my road, and this is something really interesting about them, and here's the film. Suddenly, I'm going to sit up and go, huh, you've got initiative and drive, which are two of the most important skills in, are they skills? I don't know, attitudes in filmmaking.
We get some rum and beer expensive, parked in a reindeer, so you know we're gonna party.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Marine Conservation Happy Hour podcast. And today I'm joined by Bertie Gregory, who has got a new documentary coming up, Dolphins Up Close with Bertie Gregory, which comes out on the 18th of September. So without any further ado, hi Bertie, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thanks. How are you?
Oh, I'm grand. And it's nice to have another Brit on the podcast. And I noticed that you went to Bristol University.
I did. That's right. Yeah.
I'm from around there myself.
I still live here in Bristol. Yeah.
Oh, fabulous.
Went to uni and never left.
Oh, fabulous. Yeah, my family's all down Glastonbury ways.
Oh, nice. Proper Bristol.
Proper Bristol. Proper job. So, with that sort of background, going to Bristol University, how did you end up becoming a documentary maker?
So I knew I wanted to make wildlife films long before I went to Bristol University. I mean, part of the reason that I went to Bristol, I say part, pretty much the entire reason, if I'm honest, is not because I was particularly attracted to their biology program, although it's
a very good program.
It is a good one, and I enjoyed it, so no discredit to that. But I wanted to come here because, Bristol is the world hub for wildlife filmmaking. The infamous BBC Natural History Unit that make all the David Attenborough Planet Earth documentaries, they're all made on a couple streets here in Bristol. So I thought, well, I have 3 years to do my undergrad. During that time, I can poke around and try and figure out who actually makes these things and beg them for a job. And randomness and luck would have it that I ended up not getting a job with the BBC. I ended up getting a job with National Geographic. Yeah, it was a few years after that eventually I got to come back to Bristol, and I was lucky enough to work on some of the David Attenborough series.
So how do you end up getting a position with National Geographic? Because I know there's a lot of listeners who are doing marine biology degrees or zoology degrees or so forth, and doing what you do would be their dream. So how do you build up, I guess, a resume to attract Nat Geo?
Sure. Well, I guess I'll answer that question in two parts. I'll answer that question with how I did it. And then I'll qualify that by saying everyone's path is different and nobody's path is the same. So I can come up with a couple of things that might be useful more generally. But how I started was from a very early age, I was obsessed with wildlife. I found that taking pictures of the animals I was obsessed with near to where I lived in Reading, that's where I grew up, foxes, badgers, roe deer, red kites. If I took pictures of those animals, that was a great way to kind of channel my obsession. It was also sort of by accident, I learned a good way to get my friends who thought I was weird interested in what I was interested about. I'm really excited that now I feel like a lot has changed in 10, 15 years, that now I feel like if you're young and being interested in wildlife and the environment is cool. That was not the case when I was at school. So yeah, started taking pictures and entered them into sort of young wildlife photography competitions. Was lucky enough to win some of those. And at the awards ceremony for one of those, I got to meet a guy called Steve Winter, who's like the David Beckham of wildlife photography. He was looking for a new assistant for his next assignment for National Geographic magazine, all about leopards. So the day after my graduation from Bristol, I jumped on a plane, start working for him on a worldwide story on leopards for National Geographic magazine. And that was kind of how I started. In answer to your question more broadly, I think the really important thing to stress for anyone that wants to get into wildlife film is that it sounds obvious, but you just need to go and do it. We live in this amazing age where everyone has access to a camera. Even if that's the camera on your phone, the important thing is that it's a camera. That famously a great line I heard was the best camera is the camera you have. So take the camera that you have and go outside and start making films. And we also, all have our own broadcasting platform. We don't need Disney Plus or the BBC to broadcast our films. There's social media, YouTube, Instagram, whatever. start making films. That's how you learn. That's how you make mistakes. The amount of people that I meet at film festivals that come up to me because, I'm fortunate to have a public profile in this space. They will come up to me and I get probably 10, 20 emails a week saying, please give me a job. And the first question I ask, or the first thing I look at is, what have you done to work towards that goal other than come over and ask me? And the vast majority of the time, the answer is, oh, I haven't made any wildlife films yet. I'm waiting for someone to give me an opportunity. Don't wait. This idea of your lucky break, you need to go and make some of that luck. So yeah, get out there and make films. Because if someone comes over to me and goes, hi, I'd really like to work with you. I made a film about the pigeons that nest on my road, and this is something really interesting about them, and here's the film. Suddenly, I'm going to sit up and go, you've got initiative and drive, which are two of the most important skills are they skills? I don't know, attitudes in filmmaking.
Oh, absolutely. I'd say that goes to a lot of the field, that you kind of have to put your hours in volunteering and really show a passion, prove your passion.
Totally. Passion is everything. Yeah.
So the documentary, let's talk about this. So Dolphins Up Close. Now you go to a really horrible part of the world to do this. I mean, you could have gone into the Severn Estuary, Burnham-on-Sea to film this. So you go to the Azores of all places. So now why did you choose such a freezing cold, miserable location?
Yeah, just terrible place. Well, do you know, I've long wanted to go to the Azores. I had lots of friends that filmed there, and sort of it's got this kind of legendary status. When I arrived there, after the first couple days, I was so annoyed with myself in that I was like, how have I never been here before? Like, it is the most extraordinary place, and it is on Europe's doorsteps. On Europe's doorstep, it's our Hawaii. These amazing volcanoes that just kind of erupt straight up out of the ocean, and then it's surrounded by Europe's largest marine protected area, and it is just, I mean, the episode I would describe as a relentless sequence of amazing animal encounters. We really struggled in the edit because we saw so much stuff. And so why did we go to the Azores? Well, dolphins are very numerous there. And I think dolphins are very popular. They're in pop culture. But I think when most people think of dolphins, they think, okay, it's a kind of a cute, smiley animal, can kind of jump out of the water, a bit acrobatic, and they're pretty smart and they live in family groups. That's about it. But one thing that we don't often talk about is how incredible predators that they are. And that's not to say we wanted to make like a, shark film, but
sharks do appear.
Sharks do appear, but from the dolphins' perspective, we wanted to show like just how this intelligence and social living means that they hunt in the most spectacular style. These huge armies of hundreds, if not thousands, of dolphins. Multiple species working together, and how their intelligence and their hunting style benefits so many other animals that you might not expect, from sharks to whales to birds, all sorts.
Now, the premise is you're looking at what called bait balls. So basically a group of fish and all these predators attacking them to try and get the fish. And I think you say there's 11 species all at once around a bait ball?
It was pretty wild, yeah. So we had 3 species of dolphin all hunting together. So we had bottlenose, spotted, and common. We had a Cory shearwaters diving from above. We had 1 brown booby also diving from above that I made friends with, actually. He kept hanging out on our boat. We had minke whales, humpback whales, sei whales, and of course the awesome blue sharks. So yeah, so many animals coming together in this big ocean party. Really amazing thing to witness, and incredible for all those animals. The only animal having a really bad day was the little jack mackerel.
Now, I was particularly impressed by the minke whale because I used to work on them off the west coast of Scotland, where you also have these bait balls and you have the same aggregations of birds and dolphins and whales, but absolutely beautiful footage of a minke whale swimming past. So that was absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, I like them. They're sort of like a whale light. Compact whale.
The Mini Cooper S of whales.
Yeah, and they're sort of really big, but also not that big. So yeah, I love the way that they're super speedy and they kind of come out of nowhere. And yeah, they've learned to work smarter, not harder. They wait for the dolphins to corral the fish and then just come in and go, thank you very much. It's funny you mentioned Scotland, actually. One of the best bait balls I have seen in my whole life. I mean, this one in the Azores was up there, but the other one was actually just north of the Isle of Coll in the Inner Hebrides. It was a sand eel bait ball, and we had 3 humpback whales, but we also had about 10 minke whales on it. And the way that they were hunting, I had not seen before. They almost looked like salmon. The way that they were coming in just below the surface of the water, and you just see this big belly flash as they turned on their side to lunge. It was really cool.
Oh, that's so fascinating. Yeah, I know that stretch of the water really, really well. I spent many hours there with the Hebridean Whale and Dolphin Trust back in the day.
Cool.
It's a beautiful place and very easy for people to go to. If you can't get to the Azores, go to the Isle of Mull and go whale watching there and look for bait balls and minke whales and dolphins and so forth.
Would recommend.
And actually, talking about whale watching, something I really liked in this particular documentary was how you chat to one of the old whalers who's now turned to whale watching and is a huge fan of whale watching. In fact, he goes, "It gives me all the money."
Yeah, so Daniel Matignano, I mean, one of the really fascinating things about the Azores is, whaling was a huge global industry, especially, here in the UK. Many of the lamps that line the streets of London during the Industrial Revolution were powered by whale oil. Many of those came from Antarctica and further afield, and that all finished. But what's interesting about the Azores is that whaling was happening there up until the late 1980s. Really recent. And what that means is you can go there and you can chat to people that were whalers. And yeah, Daniel's this amazing, charismatic guy who spent decades hunting whales. And it was really interesting to learn how the community shifted. And, he's very honest about it in that this wasn't that he suddenly had some moral dilemma. It was that he figured out that the whales were worth more alive than dead. Whale hunting was part of their culture. It was their livelihood. It was how it worked. And yeah, so to see that kind of cultural shift, and yeah, now he loves whales. You can see when he spots a whale, he gets the same kick out of, that adrenaline rush of spotting one that he did when he was in his 20s.
What's he calling me? He calls them my ladies or something like that.
My girls, yeah. No, he loves those whales. I think what's really cool, and it's why we wanted to make it such a big part of the episode, was that, it's very easy to see things that are happening in the world, doom and gloom and bad things that we're doing now, we've done in the past. And we weren't there to point any fingers. We were there to just show what had happened. But we were there to celebrate this shift, because it's very easy to, shine a light on the doom and gloom topics. But I think it's even more important to shine a light on when we get it right and when we, change our ways and turn things around, because it's very hard to motivate someone to do something if you're telling them not to do something. It's much easier to empower them and say, look at what you can do. Look at what this group of people did.
Absolutely. The NGOs have been going on for years that whale watching is more lucrative than whaling, and it's better for the communities where it happens. And yeah, it's just nice you have someone there from the actual community who can go, yeah, absolutely, yeah, I'd never go back now.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is it's a perfect example more broadly of this idea that, for too long when we talk about conservation, we've been talking about the wildlife. It's not about wildlife. Conservation is about people. If you want to make it work, it's about people. And conservation has to be something that is good for both wildlife and for people in order for it to work. And this is a perfect example of that.
And I think that's a great message to finish off on. So thank you very much for joining me, Bertie. It's great to meet someone from home. And please do tune in and watch Dolphins Up Close with Bertie Gregory on the 18th of September. And thank you very much, listeners, for tuning in.
Hey, Marine Conservation Happy Hour crew, don't forget to hit subscribe and follow us for future episodes. And also, refer us. We'd love it. We would also like to hear from you, so please contact us on social media, or you can email us about a topic that you're interested in hearing about. If you're interested in sponsoring this podcast, or you would like us to come visit your science facility and do a live episode, email us at info@absolutelysmashingllc.com. This podcast was edited and produced by Absolutely Smashing. The music is produced by Jolly Shore Leave. Thank you again for listening, and we couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for being part of the Marine Conservation Happy Hour crew.